Talk. It's another YA Wednesday. Today we're talking about Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. This book is a fantasy, I guess I would call it.
Yeah.
And it's about a boy named Jacob who wants to discover the mysterious past behind his grandfather. So he discovers some children and a woman named Miss Peregrine in a time loop in Wales. And it goes on to explain everything, which is actually quite convoluted, but it has to do with the peculiar children who are people who have powers and are being protected by Miss Peregrine from monsters who would want to hurt them. So we're going to discuss that, and the book is also rather peculiar itself because it uses, that's not a good example, maybe there's that. It uses found pictures that the author found at flea markets and things like that, here we go, to kind of inform the story a little more. So it's interesting. It's kind of like a fantasy / picture book thing. So, John?
Let's see. I think we should first talk about. I believe when I first talked to you about Miss Peregrine, because you hadn't read it before, and I was like, hey, I read this book a few years ago, and it was really interesting. I believe I called it roughly an X-Men origin story, like, it's something like that.
It is very similar to an X-Men
origin
story.
Where Miss Peregrine is in charge of these group of children who all have powers, and they need to be protected because society won't accept them, and they'll, try to attack them and marginalize them, and then there's also these monsters called Hollows after them. So do you feel that was I guess, I don't want to say accurate, but it's hard trying to describe this book to someone who's never read it. So would you feel that was, I described it well as it's roughly an X-Men origin story without the X-Men?
Yeah, I would say if you're trying to describe this book to someone who hasn't read it, I would say it's X-Men-like. If the X-Men lived in Wales in the 1940s. Which the book does not take place in the 1940s. They live in a time loop in the 1940s. As I should have said at the beginning of this video, we will be talking about things that might spoil the book. Mm-hmm. So if you haven't read it, I would recommend reading this first or going to Wikipedia if you don't want to read it. But I would recommend reading it just because.
Don't just Wikipedia. That's bad.
Well, or do, because I did not like this book at all. I just felt it was very forced and charmless, but we'll get into that more.
Mm-hmm. It's, as going back to the X-Men thing, as someone who, because you've read the comics before,
X-Men?
right? X-Men, right? Yeah, because I've only watched the cartoon. Do you feel that the I guess factors in play in the story drew up enough conflict or intensity, or did the plot keep going in terms of, we have to put the pedal to the metal and get going? In X-Men, for example, there's the whole idea of society is increasingly going against them, and there are these problems, whether it's mutant registration or it's a long history, of course, X-Men. Do you feel there was enough going on in the story to warrant your desire to continue reading?
Sorry. I did not. I really felt that there was no sense of urgency in this book whatsoever. It takes a long time for the main character to actually get anywhere or get any information. And if a reader is kind of unsure about this book, I don't think that they would continue on. And honestly, the only reason I continued with this book was because I knew I'd be talking about it for this video.
And you did Wikipedia it, so that's good.
Right, but there's no ticking clock, there's no sense of urgency, really. The kids, they live in this time loop that no one else can get into, and it's the same day over and over again, so there's no real problems for them, except for that they're peculiar. And
the Hollows are coming after them.
Yeah, but they don't though. That's the
until the very end. Yeah.
So and they don't even mention the problem of the Hollows coming after them until almost the end of the book, which is a problem. And Jacob, who kind of goes back and forth between this time loop and real life, I guess. He doesn't seem to have any real urgent problems either. It's kind of like, do I stay in the time loop or do I not stay in the time loop? Oh no, we have to go back to America on Sunday. But it's been...
There's the urgency. America and the air flight.
But it's been established at the beginning of the book that Jacob has money and that it wouldn't be difficult to convince his father to stay in Wales. So that's not a real problem. And yeah, monsters do eventually show up, and that's the problem. But they don't show up, ever until almost, at least more than halfway through the book. And I just found that as a real problem. I felt that it was extremely slow. And at least with X-Men, they have the problem of society is always encroaching on them. The world is getting smaller. There are mutants out there that people are aware of. And again, with the mutant registration thing, that's how that showed up. But with Miss Peregrine, they're in this time loop.
So they're insulated,
nobody knows and nobody cares. So what are they afraid of besides monsters? Which, I mean, yeah, okay, monsters are bad because they'll eat you or whatever they do to them. But they
devour. I think they get more. I think, if what I remember correctly, they devour the peculiar children to get more powerful.
Okay.
I believe it's something like that.
But
that's
yeah, it's a very slow book, especially for a fantasy book. So that's, yeah, I think compared to X-Men, which this is not X-Men, but as it's similar to X-Men, I think Marvel does it better in this case.
And you also said that, which I didn't know, that this is done frequently in fantasy genre, this idea of,
Yes, definitely. I read a lot of fantasy books. It's probably my favorite genre, and especially YA fantasy, and it's really done a lot where there's, a group of kids who are special in some way, but society can't find out because plot reasons. There's an older person looking after them. It's done a lot, and I felt that there wasn't a lot of different stuff done in this book. And I also felt that there was a lot of build-up to almost nothing. Not enough payoff. The pictures were cool, though.
And when Anna first told me that, I found that really interesting because I don't have that background in with fantasy literature. I try to read, but sometimes I don't always have time. I do read, just not like books, fan fiction, stuff like that. But I actually really enjoyed the book. I did read it a while ago, so it's not as upfront in my memory as I would like. But from what I remember, I did enjoy it. It was a book that I read a few summers ago, and I kind of took it at a leisurely pace, so I wasn't too bothered by the urgency. I do agree with Anna that sometimes I think the actions that they took were a bit stretched out. So it's already been established that Hollows are after Jacob, and they're going after different time loops. And then they still feel the need to go back to the real world to make certain for the third or fourth time that indeed Hollows are after them. So I do recall that there was some bits of monotony, but I did like the relationship between Jacob and Emma. I felt that the characters throughout Miss Peregrine's area that she oversees, I thought they were each kind of unique and interesting. You had the boy with the bees and the boy who could resurrect things. And like I said, I took, because I don't have the background, I kind of took at it as a kind of quasi X-Men film or book. So I was like, oh wow, cool. So I was really enthralled. But I do get your point that someone who has read much better versions of the genre would feel like, this isn't anything spectacular.
I will say though that the types of peculiarities or powers or whatever that the author came up with, those were interesting and unique. I mean, you know, when you try to think of superhero powers, you go like, okay, well, let's see, there's fire, there's flying, there's
superhuman strength, flight.
But this did get kind of interesting. They have a girl with a mouth in the back of her head, which I guess these aren't all powers; they're just like weird stuff. But there's like a boy who, like you said, who's like full of bees or something. There was a super strong guy, but I guess he died or something.
He was because the sister's super strong. I don't recall what the boy's power was. The twin that was dead.
Yeah. No,
he was just dead. That was his power.
Being dead.
Being dead was his power, and giving exposition. That's what his use was.
There was other stuff too, but I thought the stuff that he came up with, those were interesting. But again, it was partly because of the pictures. The author found these pictures. I think he's a photographer or interested in photography, and he found these pictures and like thought of stories of these. So the powers are kind of informed by those sorts of things. But I still thought those were unique, definitely. That was probably the only thing I liked about this book. I feel like I'm being mean, but I just really didn't like it.
Yeah. Now, I said before I liked Jacob and Emma's relationship. Now, you just saw the movie trailer. Emma, and this is, I don't know if it's necessarily scandalous online, but it caused quite a stir. Emma's powers were switched with Olivia? I forgot her name. The one who
floats away.
Yeah, the one who floats away. Olive, yeah. Let's hope it's Olive. Their powers were switched, and many of the ages were changed in the movie, and a lot of people were like, hey, what's going on? And Tim Burton, I believe, was quoted to say, you know, trust me on this, guys, and then a lot of the actors in the movie were like, you know, it took a little bit, but it ended up becoming a much better product. And you know, I preface this by saying it is possible for it to be a better product than the book. The Giver, I thought, did an excellent job of one change was, spoilers for The Giver, one change was that they aged Jonas up from a 13-year-old carrying a child across the trek to the boundary of wherever to an older child. So the movies can do a change and make the piece, the work better. What do you think about, do you have high hopes for the movie? Do you think that, you know, because you're a film major too, so I imagine you know a lot of, you know, book to film adaptations and what's lost and what's gained. Do you think that fans should be worried about the translation from text to film? Do you think it's much ado about nothing? What's your opinion?
I actually didn't know that Tim Burton was going to be the director on this, but I think it's a good choice. He's very visual, a very visual director, and he has a certain style that I think works very well with this book, especially since, you know, it is informed by pictures. I think he can do a really good job with the essence of those pictures that kind of inform the rest of the book. As far as the changes, that's something that we're just going to have to get used to. That's what happens when books get translated to film for various reasons, casting, location, anything really. I think Tim Burton is good at understanding the source material. Alice in Wonderland aside, but whatever. But I think he, you know, with Batman and his own original creations, I think he's good at understanding the base of all the characters, and it's not just a money grab, I guess. And I was saying to John earlier, this book does not scream cinema to me, and I was kind of surprised that they were making a movie about it. But I think Tim Burton can probably do the best job with this, and as I wasn't a fan of the book, I'm kind of hoping that he maybe does the movie in a way where it does kind of move a little quicker, because in a movie we're not going to want to see, like, oh, now we go here, and now we do this, and now this happens, and now we get backstory, and now, we did this again. So yeah, I'm hoping that the movie will be good, and I think John's right, it does have potential to be better than the book, in my opinion. And on another note, I didn't like Jacob and Emma's relationship, but it does look like they might actually have better chemistry in the film trailer. Again, in my opinion. In this book, it just seems like she just wants him to be his grandfather, which is weird because I understand that at the beginning.
You look like your grandfather. Now come here and kiss me.
Yeah,
it's like, wait a minute.
That was creepy and weird. But so yeah, I understood that at the beginning. She loved his grandfather, and she wants.
If I can't have him, I'll have you.
She wants
that. It is kind of creepy. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, she wants that back and everything, but she does not let that go. She's like a dog with a bone in this book. So I'm hoping that they kind of mold that a little bit in the movie.
Yeah. I will say it was cute in that one scene in the trailer where he holds on to her because she kind of like a kite, she's floating, and he kind of holds on to her and is like, "We're going on a walk, dear." So I thought that was cute.
They aged Miss Peregrine down in the movie too, didn't they?
I believe so. I think I visualized her in my head as older than what.
There's a picture.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, and she looks quite old. Yeah, whereas Evergreen is an amazing actor, so she should. I think she'll do very good with Miss Peregrine. But yes, they did age her down. As someone who has not yet read the sequel, I did read the sequel. Put that there. Where do you think they're going to take the series? Are they going to, hey guys, we need to go into the English Channel and visit this time loop in France? And then, so are they going to pull an Assassin's Creed where they visit other localities? Because this one time loop is in the 1940s during World War II, and then every day Miss Peregrine resets the time loop, meaning she does her hand magic or whatever, and time goes back to reset the day. Do you think that they're going to visit, a day in the French Revolution? Or are they going to, visit somewhere close by where it's, I don't know, a whole another set of peculiars? What do you think will be the future of this series?
I have a hard time with this because, like I said, sorry, I didn't mean that to come out like that. Like I said, I didn't feel that this book moved very much, and these kids, they do live in this time loop that just repeats over and over and over and over and over just this one day. And spoilers for this book, but they end up having to leave this time loop and find another, and I don't know how that's gonna work. I can't figure it out because they get into another time loop, but then what? Like, they're still stuck in a time loop. They can't
and
go
they still
anywhere.
have the hollow problem, so it's not like that solves anything.
And they can't go anywhere because they'll start aging and die or something.
So and then that is something when you brought it up when we were talking before, that is something that I actually forgot. Apparently, if they're out of the time loop for any large amount of time, their aging accelerates up to it catches up to them. So like Emma, who is 118 years old, even though she's still in the body of like a 14-year-old or whatever, if she's out of the time loop, she'll immediately jump to 118 years old, which I kind of thought, and again, I read this a while ago, but I kind of thought that the peculiar kids will just start aging again, whereas in the time loop they stop aging. But that's me being wrong.
Yeah, but that would make more sense. Like, if they pulled an Avatar and they just continue.
Avatar,
They just continue, they're out of the time loop. Okay, I'm 14 and I'll start aging normally and I'll be 15.
That's Avatar: The Last Airbender, by the way, not the other movie. The other movie is good too, but
Last Airbender. Not the blue cat.
Not the blue guy, the bald guy.
But I can't figure out where this series is going because what are they gonna do? I don't understand how this is gonna work because I feel like the writer kind of wrote himself into a corner here. So I don't know where it's gonna go. Basically, is my answer to that.
I mean, hopefully Miss Peregrine can come out of her bird form. I know the answer to that, but Anna doesn't, so I won't spoil. But
if you do like this book, nothing wrong with that. I did not like this book. I thought the pictures were visually interesting. I thought the main character was not interesting at all. and his dad is stupid. But
his dad is kind of stupid. That is true.
And it's just kind of indicative of YA fiction. Their parents are all idiots. Anyway, but there are good things about it. It's not like the worst book I've ever read or anything. It's just, like I said, when you read a lot of fantasy novels, you see these sort of things done better. So I think the author had a lot of potential here, and he didn't live up to it.
Yeah. You know, for me, as someone who hasn't read a whole lot of fantasy books, it worked perfectly fine for me. You know, you have a nice cool drink next to you, leisurely look through the story, and then you just kind of, you know, take it for what it is. I think this book will be liked if you have like middle school aged boys. I think would really like it. Girls too. There's nothing, not gendering books or whatever. But I think, you know, the kind of mystery behind it. Middle school age kids will like it. High school age kids, probably like freshmen, sophomores will like it.
Yeah, and I should also mention that there's a graphic novel version. It's the exact same book, just graphic novel version.
Yeah.
So if you like rather look at the pictures or whatever, then you can check that out too. So this is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. You can find it at the library, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It's a mainstream book. It's easy to find. And if you like fantasy and you just want to have an easy, simple book to read with cool pictures, this will be for you. Wasn't for me.
They recently came out with a 3-pack that I believe has all the books hardcover, in addition to pictures. Like they actually had like pictures that were in the book that you can, I guess, I don't know necessarily collect, but kind of look at. So that's kind of neat. So I'll be soon getting that, because I did like the series and I do want to read the third one.
So thanks for joining us for YA Wednesday once again. I'm Anna Mansager, and this is John Pasha. You can follow me on Twitter at Lioness Goddess, and everything I will put in the description below. Thanks again for watching.
See you next week.